Hello and welcome to another video of Netflix Witcher review. It is part 2 of season 2, coming after a couple of weeks. If you want to see the first part, I leave a link, and without further ado, let's get into it. First off, let's talk about Dandelion, the character other critics have not paid enough attention. I don't like Netflix's depiction of Dandelion. He's awkward, the phrases he comes up with are not innovative and are cringy. When confronted with a hard situation, he is not good with words and mumbles nonsense.
Come on, you don't want to keep a man with bread in his pants waiting.
Now, I wouldn't say that books or games Dandelion has this character that no one dares to mess with or make fun of, but he's really good at what he does, and that's being a bard. He's very good with words and when confronted, would reply strongly and coherently. He wouldn't lose himself and mumble. He was generally easygoing, but when the time came, he knew exactly what to say. In fact, when Geralt got too grumpy and funkier in the books, he was the one to say that to his face. In a way, he was the balancing character that Geralt needed.
Gave me enough material for a volume of ballads. And this one will sell like hotcakes.
That all you care about? The ballads this'll inspire? Egos swell a bit lately, getting more and more selfish with age.
What is that about?
It's about Ciri.
Why would I ever worry about her? You have any idea how she fights? The girl can take care of herself, believe me.
But here, not so much. His style and appearance are good, but the other problem I have with him is his songs. They are, in my opinion, too modern and are not the fancy tavern songs we want to hear. Now, about Dandelion being kidnapped by Rience and then getting saved by Yennefer, I have two major things to say. First, somewhat a positive remark, this is somehow an adaptation of original lore, as these events actually happened. Second, I hate the way they adapted it. It was one of Yennefer's big moments and power shows. It was so cool and full of action and showed us how powerful Yennefer is. But here, the theme and plot are completely changed, as Yennefer has lost her power and is desperately looking for it. She has to come in and pretend to be drunk, then spit alcohol in Rience's face and burn him that way. Whereas originally, Rience was not alone. He had hired a group of thugs and was torturing Dandelion with their help. What poor Bard experienced was actually very painful. Then Yennefer, finding out where Dandelion is, first sent an illusion of herself. Rience's man attacks the illusion just to find out it was nothing but smoke. At that moment, Yennefer bursts in and nimbly cuts the throat of one of the thugs with knife and kills the other one with magic. It's now her and Rience, 1-to-1. Let's listen to what happens there in the books.
Then Rience attacked. The spell he cast illuminated the darkness with a bluish flash in which Dandelion saw a slender woman wearing man's clothes, gesticulating strangely with both hands. He only glimpsed her for a second before the blue glow disappeared, with a bang and a blinding flash. Rience fell back with a roar of fury and collapsed onto the wooden pigsty walls, breaking them with a crash. The woman dressed in man's clothing leapt after him, a stiletto flashing in her hand. The pigsty filled with brightness again, this time golden, beaming from a bright oval which suddenly appeared in the air. Dandelion saw Rience spring up from the dusty floor, leap into the oval and immediately disappear. Dandelion stood with difficulty, groaned and stretched his aching shoulders. What's with them? He indicated the bodies lying on the ground. We'll check. The enchantress snicked the stiletto shut. One of them should still be alive. I've a few questions for him. This one, the troubadour, stood over the reeking man, probably still lives. I doubt it, said Yennefer indifferently. I severed his windpipe and carotid artery. There might still be a little murmur in him, but not for long. Dandelion shuddered. You slashed his throat? If, out of inborn caution, I hadn't sent an illusion in first, I would be the one lying there now. Let's look at the other one. Bloody hell. Such a sturdy fellow, and he still couldn't take it. Pity. He's dead too. He couldn't take the shock. I fried him a little too hard. See, even his teeth are charred. What's the matter with you, Dandelion? Are you going to be sick? I am, the poet replied indistinctly, bending over and leaning his forehead against the pigsty wall.
Anyway, back to Netflix. Later, when they are outside, they are chased by a group of men unrelated to Rians. After some running and chasing, Yennefer gets arrested. She, after all, is the rogue elven mage from the placards. When soldiers wanted to take Yennefer to the garrison, Deathless Mother talked to her and offered her help. Yennefer, having no option, accepted it and was teleported to the hut, where Deathless Mother tells her the key to get her magic or chaos back is delivering Ciri to the black door outside Sintra, which is referring to the broken monolith. Now, let's discuss this. I am tired of them calling magic chaos. It's annoying. We get the best description of magic through Yennefer when she was training Ciri in Melitele Temple in Blood of Elves book. It's quite long, so I'll sum it up. Magic is, in some people's opinion, the embodiment of chaos. It is a key capable of opening the forbidden doors, the door behind which lurks nightmares, fear, and unimaginable horrors. Magic is, in some people's opinion, art. Great, elitist art, capable of creating beautiful and extraordinary things. There are also those, according to whom magic is science. In order to master it, talent and innate ability alone are not enough. Years of keen study and arduous work are essential. Remember, she repeated, magic is chaos, art and science. It is a curse, a blessing, and progress. It all depends on who uses magic, how they use it, and to what purpose. It couldn't be explained any better. Magic is not chaos. It can be chaotic and destructive, but this chaos is just manifestation of magic, not the essence of magic itself. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about Netflix Yennefer. When she had her powers, she did not think of it that much.
I wish I could do that.
It's magic. It's not real.
She wasn't satisfied, and according to herself, she wanted everything. And now that she is incapable of conjuring magic, she feels lost, and all she wants is to have her powers back. She even would go so far as to sacrifice Ciri. What does it tell us? Who is Netflix Yennefer? What's her real angle? Her plot and character development seems to be running in an absurd circle, like most of Netflix plot, and her real character in the lore, a strong, powerful sorceress, an exceptional, unique character, not only in Witcher, but the whole fantasy world, is butchered in Netflix's depiction of her, going so far to betray Geralt and sacrifice a child, a thing that Lord Yennefer would never ever dream of. And that's why I believe Netflix hates this character and is doing everything in its power to destroy our favorite sorceress. I would really like to know your opinion about this, so feel free to share it in the comment section. Let's talk about Ciri's powers. Netflix has kinda shifted it from her being the lady of time and space, the key to travel between the worlds, into someone who screams into monoliths, breaks them, and brings monsters from different dimensions into this world. It's true that in some instances it shows her ability to travel between the worlds, but the focus is on monsters who come in. Again, it's Netflix creation, and I don't know if they were trying to build something here, you know, with monoliths and monsters who are friendly towards Ciri, but in the next season there isn't any of that going on, so I believe they abandoned it as it amounted to nothing. It is later discovered by Vesemir that Ciri's blood, which is the Elder Blood, is the key to create new Witchers. He knows that because wherever Ciri's blood was spilled, a certain type of flower bloomed. I don't think I have to point out that Elder Blood had nothing to do with creation of Witchers. Anyhow, Vesemir is rather impatient to use Ciri's blood to create new Witchers, but in fact it is not necessary at all, and I tell you why. Geralt in the books was poor, and many times we see that he is hungry and doesn't even have the money to buy food. And that's because most of the monsters are dead by the time the books start. Witcher's golden age is over and Witchers have hard time to find a contract. This means there isn't enough jobs out there for few Witchers left. and if you create new ones, they are most likely to die of famine. Jokes aside, in the current situation of the Witcher world, there is no need for new Witchers, but the hope to rebuild what once was is not unusual and is understandable. But what comes next isn't. Vesemir talks to Ciri and she accepts to give her blood on the condition that they test it on her first. Now, Vesemir first declines, which is logical thing to do, but finally Ciri talks him into it. And that's where the problem starts. First, Ciri is a teen. She doesn't really know what she wants and is very emotional, whereas Vesemir, at least in the books, is a guy who has seen it all. He is very old and as a result of that, calm and wise. So it should be him convincing Ciri that this is not right, not to be swayed by few words from Ciri. I hate what Netflix is doing to Vesemir. And by the way, no one bothered to wait for Geralt. The next problem is Ciri. The Netflix series has unintentionally caused problems and has directly and indirectly killed people, and she is blaming herself for it. She goes so far as telling she destroys everything, which is not true even in the show, but she is very emotional about it. Netflix series talks about her fight, talks about her being a queen and changing the hatred cycle, so on and so forth. I know I have talked about it before, but I need to point it out here too. It makes her another generic character who has a sad background and wants to fight to make things idealistically good, which is naive, whereas book Ciri was just a kid doing what Geralt told her to do, and in general just being a kid, and that made her character development very interesting, as it took unexpected turns. Anyhow, Triss, in an attempt to stop Ciri from going under mutation, offers to enter Ciri's mind, and after it's finished, after hearing Ithilne's prophecy, she gets scared and tells Ciri to go away. Another royal mess-up from Netflix. First, in the prophecy, the child of elder blood is a savior figure, not the destroyer.
Verily I say unto you, the era of the sword and axe is nigh. The era of the wolf's blizzard, the time of the white chill and the white light is nigh. The time of madness and the time of contempt, Ted derayed, the time of end. The world will die amidst frost and be reborn with the new sun. It will be reborn of elder blood of Henechire, of the seed that has been sown, a seed which will not sprout, but burst into flame.
Which part of this meant Ciri is gonna destroy the world, Marigold? Anyhow, Cahir is back to Sintra. Geralt through Istrid gets to know that Yennefer is alive, and Triss, through all this time, never thought to mention it to Geralt, or Geralt never thought to ask? And how did the whole idea that Geralt thinks Yen is dead serve the plot? Anyway, Geralt comes back to Kaer Morhen in the nick of time to save Ciri from mental Netflix Vesemir, who even after seeing Geralt, insists to do it.
She can do this.
Geralt and Ciri leave Kaer Morhen, as it is not so safe anymore, and Vesemir is left with a bottle. And that was it for episode 5. Netflix has a problem with Kaer Morhen being a safe place. First Eskel showing up like that, and now Rience. And there are a lot of problems with Rience's scene. First, how did he figure out where Kaer Morhen is? And how did he know Ciri would be there, or even have to teleport there? None of it makes sense. Then there is the fight scene, and he single-handedly bests Triss and Vesemir. Apparently none of them knew the right way to fight him was to pretend to be drunk and spit alcohol in his face. Anyway, like he somehow knew where Kaer Morhen is, now he somehow knows about the bottle containing Ciri's blood. Not only that, but also he knows where it is. He takes it and runs. A completely baseless scene without an ounce of logic or correlation. Rience just magically knows he should look for Ciri in Kaer Morhen. Then he magically knows where Kaer Morhen is, and just like that, he knows there's a potion containing Ciri's blood and exactly at which part of castle it is. Don't ask questions, people. He just knows, and that's that. Moving on, we get to the scene where Geralt and Ciri are about to reach Melitele. Are you ready to hear me pointing out what's wrong with it? Good then. Let's start with modern Neneka. It's not just Netflix, we see it everywhere these days, in games and cinema, that producers think swearing is cool. 5 minutes of screen time and she already...
I don't see any side upon which you are not entirely fucked.
Later, Yennefer shows up and she is reunited with Geralt. Now, these events are very different from what happened in the books. So, in the books, when Ciri was in Kaer Morhen, she had trances in which she spoke of prophecies in a voice that wasn't hers. Witchers were concerned and had no idea what to do with it, so they seek the help of Triss. Triss was there for some time but ultimately told Geralt that she's not able to deal with Ciri's situation and asked him to seek the help of more experienced sorceress, indirectly referring to Yennefer. Now, Geralt hadn't asked Yennefer for help, not because he thought she was dead, like they show in the series, but because they had broken up. Talking to exes is always weird. This led to one of the best moments of the lore, the famous Dear Friend letter. For those of you who don't know, Geralt, when writing to ask Yennefer for help because they had broken up, didn't know what to call her, and finally came up with Dear Friend, which Yennefer masterfully roasted him for that in her response letter. The letter Yennefer wrote is a pic to her character in the books, which is nothing like Netflix Yennefer.
Know what? We should end this discussion before I say something I'll regret.
But I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Is that so? Very well then. Listen, you shagged my friend for upwards of a year. I cannot know what your witch's code says on the matter, but ordinary folk would consider it obscene, base, vile. I try not to think about it. That stupid bed was making it difficult. That's that.
Yen, told you already, I lost my memory.
And I've lost my patience!
Oh, she's really not in the mood.
Anyway, Geralt, Triss and Ciri traveled together from Kaer Morhen and left Ciri in Melitele. It was sometime after that Yennefer arrived and started training Ciri, and there Ciri became a daughter figure for Yennefer, a child she always wanted, and that made sense as they spent a lot of time together and Ciri was only a little girl. Also, she was her lover's adopted daughter, so Yennefer grew maternal feelings for her. But in the Netflix, Yennefer is only there to kidnap Ciri and deliver her to Deathless Mother so she can have her powers back. Do you see the difference here? Anyway, like Kaer Morhen, the temple is a safe place, but as Netflix has a problem with safety, they first made Kaer Morhen unsafe, then Melitele's temple, so Rience could conveniently appear without any explanation. This time, he has brought some men with him. Fight breaks out, Yennefer takes Ciri to a room and Geralt fights with Rience's thugs. The fight scene is cool, I'm gonna give him that. While Rience was trying to melt the door down, under Yennefer's guide Ciri opens a portal and they both live. It is true that Ciri is a source. She is filled with magical powers. But that doesn't mean anything until she learns how to channel that power. It certainly wasn't like the show depiction, as Yennefer told her to do it and she did it in a mere minute. Teleportation is an advanced magic, as the lore suggests, and it would take Ciri months before she could do it. In Sintra, the tension between elves and Nilfgaardians is growing, since Cahir arrived. Looking at it both regarding the lore and disregarding it, and looking at the show as an independent series, it does not make sense, and I tell you why in the next episode review. Meanwhile, Francesca gives birth to a baby, and Triss travels to Aretuza and tells everything about Ciri to Tissaia. Let's first talk about elves and Nilfgaardians' situation in Sintra. I think the problem arises from lack of material for a good plot. In the books, Nilfgaard and elves were united. This created major problems for northern kingdoms, as they had to fight in two fronts. It was a smart move, And as the result of this union, elves got Dol Blathanna and Francesca became their queen. A simple good deal both parties benefited from. Yet in the show, the union with elves is Fringilla's idea and army generals are angry with her as they see it opposing Emir's orders. There are a couple of things that can be said about this. First, elves didn't have to be in Sintra. Nilfgaard could just supply them with arms and food, though the latter elves could easily get for themselves. But anyway. Second, elves lived a long life, and we know nearly all their youngs were killed in the last battle. So almost all the elves there in Sintra are already experienced, ferocious fighters. They didn't need training as it was showed in the series. And finally, this move wasn't a smart tactic. Nilfgaard or Fringilla in the show, by uniting with the elves, get hundreds of capable fighters who knew the lands and could fight the Nilfgaard's fight for them. And I don't see why the generals would be angry with such a good tactic. Anyhow, later we see Cahir and Fringilla talk.
That you did not forsake the mission the White Flame gave us. You just got a little distracted.
It is stupid in two fronts. First, if Fringilla completely abandoned the order to find Ciri. Second, can't she do both taking care of treaty with elves and looking for Ciri? I mean, she's not alone. She has an army at her disposal with spies and other mages. She has everything she needs to do both. And uniting with elves does not contradict looking for Ciri. Yet somehow they are trying to show that both can't be done at the same time, because they are one-dimensional beings who can only focus on one task at a time. It's just dumb, that's all I can say. They are just trying to make so-called conflict to move their non-existing plot, and it's completely, utterly dumb. Could it get any dumber, you ask? Yes, it can. This time, elves themselves. This is their story in short. They are fighting northern kingdoms in a guerrilla style as they claim their lands were forcefully taken from them. Then Nilfgaard unites with them, gives them shelter and supplies. As a result, they find a safe haven in Sintra. After some time, an elven baby is born, Francesca's child. And now suddenly elves don't want to fight anymore. They literally want to stay in Sintra and have sex and produce babies. I wish it was a joke, but no. That's the plot Netflix came up with. So elves forget about their deal with Nilfgaard while they are in Nilfgaard's land, and they are not subtle about it. They are shouting they won't fight and would just stay there and reproduce. Does none of them think that when they break their deal, Nilfgaard has no reason to shelter them anymore? That at best they would be forced to leave Sintra, so they get back to their first place in the woods where apparently they can't have sex and reproduce. Or do they really think they would openly break their deal, but Nilfgaard, like a kind mother, would continue sheltering and supplying them? God, it's so stupid that I really don't know what to say. In one scene, Flavandrel says they don't want to die in someone else's war.
It's time for us now to add to our numbers, not to die in someone else's war.
Really? Weren't you yourselves fighting Norse before uniting with Nilfgaard? Suddenly it's Nilfgaard's war and not yours? This is the writing they have come up with, completely devoid of logic. And it would only get worse. So Geralt, Yennefer and Ciri were in the temple, which is in the city of Lander, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Then Ciri and Yen teleport to this house in Sodden and they decide to move to Sintra. Then Geralt goes to Oxenfurt and frees Dandelion. Then they travel all the way back to Sintra, and guess what? They arrive a couple of minutes after Yen and Ciri, whereas Yen and Ciri were practically next to Sintra. There is no sense of time and location in Netflix series. It's all so convenient. Vesemir is about to inject Ciri, Geralt arrives a second before. Yennefer and Ciri are captured by Nilfgaard, Geralt arrives and frees them. Yennefer wants to abduct Ciri, Rience shows up, and they move to a room where their only escape is teleportation. No reasoning, no logic, no sense of time and place, just convenience. Anyways, at the end someone kills Franziska's baby, Geralt saves Ciri from Yennefer, the Deathless Mother is freed and possesses Ciri, and they all move back to Kaer Morhen. It's literally moving in circles. Elves united with Nilfgaard moved to Sintra. There Franziska had a baby. Her baby died and they moved out of Sintra back to the place they were. Geralt took Ciri out of Kaer Morhen to Melitele. Now they are going back again to Kaer Morhen. Nothing has moved forward. The plot is going nowhere. I know season 1 was not really good, but season 2 is another level of bad. Finally, we are left with one last episode of this season. There is not much to be said about the last episode. Elves have left Sintra thinking it was Redania who killed their baby, and Franziska, as an act of revenge, is killing human babies. Emir comes to Sintra and Cahir and Frangilla decide to tell him it was them who killed the baby, so elves get angry and fight north. Then Emir reveals it was him who ordered Franziska's baby be killed and arrests both of them. Tissaia tells all the Norse rulers who Ciri is and they decide to kill her. In Kaer Morhen though, a lot happens. Possessed Ciri starts killing unimportant nameless witchers. Then she screams, and the big reveal is that Medallion Tree is actually a monolith. Couple of monsters come out and witchers start fighting them. Few of them get slaughtered. This angers Vesemir and he decides to kill possessed Ciri, but Geralt stops him. Meanwhile, the real Ciri is trapped in a dream, where she is in Sintra, her grandmother and parents all are there, everyone is happy and dancing. Yennefer decides to, in a way, make a sacrifice and free Ciri, which works. This scene where Ciri's parents beg her not to leave is the best scene in all of this season.
Don't do this. I have to go home.
It's well played and really emotional. But the problem is the rest of this season. It's so bad that this singular good scene doesn't mean that much. You can't have a season poorly written, full of bad dialogues and meaningless acts, then put a 2 minutes good scene in it and expect that scene to work. The rest of the show just brings it down. It's a shame though, under good circumstances, this could be a very touching scene. Anyway, Ciri is back. She takes Geralt and Yen to another world where is actually Deathless Mother's home, and she leaves them there. So all she did was simply to get home. Yennefer gets her powers back because she made a sacrifice, and that's that. We finally wrapped this season up. It was very poorly written. It lacked plot, to be honest. Everything happened so conveniently, without explanation, without reasoning, because the writers couldn't come up with any. The story is just running in circles. There is no sense of moving forward. It's all just so random. And I'm saying this not as someone who is comparing it to the lore, but viewing it independently. And even then, it's a disaster. It's so unbelievably bad. Anyway, I think I had my fill today. Thank you so much for watching this. It took me a lot of time to make this video, so I would really appreciate if you liked this video and subscribed. Also, let me know what you think of Netflix Witcher Season 2 in the comments section. Have a good day and farewell.